Hey, what's up? It's Mark and Chris here, and we're going to talk to you about how to deal with the recession that we're in or heading into this year in 2022, going into 2023, how to prepare mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, whether you don't have any money really that much, you're living paycheck to paycheck, or maybe you're a multi-millionaire investor and business owner like Chris and I are. We want to talk to you about some of the things that we're doing, some of the things that we're studying and hearing, because we spend a lot of time researching this stuff, and hopefully these principles, strategies, whatever we end up riffing on and sharing here is helpful to you. So Chris, I'm excited to riff on this stuff, brother, and help some people out.
I'm excited, man. And yeah, just to give you guys some context, Mark and I are both eight-figure entrepreneurs. We're both very immersed in personal development. I actually started my business 2.5 years ago at the last pandemic, at a similar time to now. And just for some context too, I had been in Mark's mastermind 3-4 years ago. So he was actually instrumental in helping me become a successful entrepreneur. So it's kind of cool to get to do this with him here. But our whole intention is to give you guys some things that work for us from a mindset perspective, how to view the world when most people are in fear, when the markets are in turmoil, and then actually what are we doing specifically, strategically, what tactics are we implementing to actually thrive and make sure we come out on top of this more successful.
I'm going to share what I think is something that I sometimes make the mistake of doing, and something that I'm sure a lot of people are doing as well, and that is listening to the wrong people on social media. It's so easy to be like listening to what an influencer or celebrity or somebody on a YouTube channel might be sharing about their beliefs, right? There's always the bulls and the bears. People think the market's
Yeah.
going up, people think the market's going down. And I do my best to try to listen to both the best experts on that say it's going to go up, and then the people that say it's going to go down. People that say Bitcoin is the best investment, and people that say it's the worst investment. I want to hear both sides. If I'm investing in real estate, I want the person who says that's a terrible investment to tell me why, and the person who says that's the best investment to tell me why. So then I can get the unbiased opinion. So my point is, I think a lot of people, they just take advice from somebody that has a bunch of followers or seems like they're articulate, and so they must be telling the truth or they must
Yeah.
be right. And maybe another bad thing people do too is like, there's a lot of traders out there. I'm more of a long-term investor, just for
Yep.
clarity. Like, I'm not a trader, which just basically means like I'm not trying to bet day to day crypto or stocks or whatever I'm betting on commodities are going to go up, down, and I'm trying to buy and sell all the time to catch the ups and the downs to make my profit on a daily basis. I find the top best assets, businesses, crypto, stocks that I believe long term are going to produce the result that I want, whether that's appreciation, cash flow, tax benefits, and I hold. And the wealthiest people I know and have studied in history, they buy, they never sell, and they borrow against, they take loans against their
Yeah.
assets as they go up. And loans, are tax free basically. And we're not giving financial advice, by the way. I know we're supposed to make that disclaimer here. So what I've noticed is, and I sometimes do it too, is I'll see somebody giving advice. Like I'll shout out some names like Alex Becker. He's an acquaintance in the entrepreneur industry that we're in,
Yeah.
and he's got a channel about crypto, and like he's given all his crazy advice, and sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. A lot of his channel stuff is just for fun entertainment purposes, but you got to be careful who you listen to. That's my biggest point here is do your best to try to get advice from people who have differing opinions, so that it makes it easier for you to hear both sides from both intelligent, articulate people who can communicate their reasoning for why it's going to go up or down. And then you can kind of sit back and be like, now I get to be an intelligent person and decide, do I like, in this case, let's just say that you're the person who says the market's going down and I say it's going up. Do I like Mark's opinion more or Chris's? And now you get to decide, instead of just being a little parrot who just echoes
Right.
someone's opinion who told you what to do. So I try to listen to a lot of people, read a lot of books. And that helps me kind of make my decisions, which we'll talk about, like where are we investing our money and taking those risks right
Yeah.
now as the market's going down and the dollar's being devalued.
And that's so important too, because I think everyone's at a different place. And I think people are listening to people taking advice that they're 15 levels above them. And
Right.
so I
Yeah.
think where most people mess up is just not getting the fundamentals right. If you have your fundamentals correct, your mindset correct, then you can strategically and contextually make the right moves for where you're at in your own career, financial life cycle, all that good stuff. So I'm curious at a basic, like total basic level here,
Yeah.
recession hits, panic ensues in the markets.
Yeah.
You got to start strategically thinking differently. Like, where does your mind go? What are the things you do to get your mind and your house in order to make sure that you're rock solid and you're thinking about things correctly?
It's a great question, and the biggest thing is making sure you're not caught off guard and blindsided, because you only listen to somebody saying there's not a recession coming, there's not a recession coming, or you only listen to the news or whatever. You're getting the worst advice from people trying to lie and manipulate. Because my belief is that the government and certain people at the top of the power chain, they don't want us to be successful and free and
Yeah.
live our best lives. It's unfortunate, but it's just like back in history. If you study history, there's people that are so power hungry that they believe that only they should have the power and the money and make the decisions for all of us and for your family. They decide what's right, and you'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
Yep.
And not in the good way of Rockefeller, own nothing, control everything through trust and other
Right.
strategic tax loops, but own nothing as in be a little peasant and let us give you government money, government funding, government education, government healthcare. We'll
Yep.
take care of you. You don't need money. What do you need to be successful for? We'll take care of you. And so the biggest thing is making sure you're getting the right information, making sure that you don't get blindsided by the dollar is being devalued. That is what creates inflation. When the government prints more money, that's going to typically put more money in the market, and that's going to make costs of things go up. Because if all of a sudden there was 75 million Bitcoin and not 21, guess what happens to the price of Bitcoin? It goes down.
Plummets.
It's
Yeah.
like supply and demand, basic economics. Like if the supply of something goes way up, it's not as valuable. The reason why a Picasso painting is worth $100 million or whatever is because there's one of them. If all of a sudden there was a million of them, which when they print the little, canvas ones that you can go buy for $50 on Etsy, the reason why that's not worth 100 million is because it's not the real original number one. There's only one in the world. And so my ultimate thing that I do when I prepare is I've known this downturn in the economy was going to happen for
Yeah.
years. I didn't know exactly when. Anyone who says they do is full of shit. You don't really know when it's going to happen, but you got to be prepared for it. And so that's the biggest thing, is make sure you're getting prepared for something so that it's not just like bam, like Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right.
You want to try to know the punch is coming at least.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's an unprecedented time too, because
yeah,
right now, just to give everyone context to what's going on right now, because the government was trying to stimulate the economy and bail us out post the COVID craziness, right? So they
right.
inflated, they put tons of money, printed, I think, some around 40% of all the money in the history of the U.S. in a
In the
span of
last 2 years. Yeah,
which
yeah.
is, you have to anticipate some negative consequences there. So we have all this fake value where you have companies in the public markets with crazy inflated value, which obviously just got course corrected by
It's
80%.
holds the stock up so that it
Right.
doesn't, so that the market doesn't look like it's crashing, even though it should be. The government prints more money, and the government, this is what people don't understand, most people, is the government can print money and they can invest in Tesla and they can invest in the stock market and the S&P 500 and NASDAQ to keep it up so it doesn't fall. It's almost like you've heard of, the GM was going to go out, or General Electric was going to go
Yep.
out, and they bailed them out, which means they give them more money, they wipe away their debt, they help them out. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the table's falling and they put legs underneath it so that it doesn't fall. And you're like, oh, we're not really in a recession. We couldn't possibly be because the stock market hasn't fallen. And it's like, well, that's a bad
Yeah,
way
but
to
it's
look at it.
all an illusion. It's all an illusion.
Right,
And the
right.
crazy thing is, so they overstimulate the economy. There's way more dollars, but there's not enough value to actually measure up to that. And the markets are great for a time period, right? Every company was hiring like crazy. You had crazy valuations in tech. Public
Yeah,
markets were on fire. But that has to come to a crash because they
yeah.
just printed fake money that didn't exist, right? So the problem for most people is that their savings is obviously dwindling at an alarming rate. So they're
Their
saying
401ks where the money's tied
401ks.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So if 8.6 is the reported percent of inflation right now, the accurate number could be more like 15 to 20%. Like,
Yeah.
don't quote me on the exact numbers, but it's much more than they're leading it on to be. Let's just pretend it's 20%. If I have
Yeah.
$1 million, a year from now, if it's in my account, I have $800,000 of buying power by the end of the year. I still have
That I
$1 million,
did last year. Right.
right? But the consumer price index, the CPI, like the cost
Yeah.
of goods, has risen at that rate. So I actually have 20% less buying power per year. So in 5 years, I don't even have any value on that money if it keeps at that same trajectory. So
Right.
the only way to go against that, the only way to thrive in that kind of an environment is to own assets that are essentially like retaining and increasing value at a faster rate than inflation. And most
Right.
people, I forgot what percent of Americans don't own assets. People that don't own assets are in trouble. So you have to start
It's
thinking.
like over 80-90% of people don't
Yeah,
own that. And if they do, they don't own enough to hedge themselves against the inflation and the risks that
right.
the government is creating for us. And so, you got to make sure that you understand that it's coming, it's happening. I believe this is probably going to be one of the worst, if not the worst, downturns we've had in the United States of America. And it's the perfect storm, right? Like if you look back and any cyclical reason that the economy went down, it's usually a combination of inflation, the government spiking interest rates, there's a war, there's a
Yep.
pandemic. It's all of those kind of things that create the bubble bursting in a sector or multiple sectors. And right now, all of those things I just listed are all happening at the exact same time. And so, there's not really any time yet in America where all of those have happened at the exact same time. And the other weird thing as well with governments and their made up fiat currency that they force us to use to pay taxes. So therefore, we just kind of all agree, well, if we have to use this for taxes, we might as well use it as a means of exchange because it's super easy to exchange dollars. And when they plug it into a digital credit card, it's even easier to be able to just swipe. And we
Yeah.
don't even have to think about it, and how the whole legacy Swift network works and how the money gets moved around. And so the problem is usually governments with fiat currency, the fiat gets obliterated down to like 99% of what it was worth up here when they started the country or the fiat currency.
Yep.
It
Hmm.
gets devalued by 99% within 100 years typically. And we're getting close to that in America. We're getting close to like when that happened, at least when we broke off of the gold standard. That was, what was that? Was that about 50 years ago? Wasn't that?
60s, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1970, 1960. I don't know. It's going to make us sound stupid and not know the exact date, but doesn't mean that it takes away from the point we're making, which is like the government devalues the dollar and almost all currencies. If you look at like Argentina or Turkey, it's like those little countries that like America never hears about unless you're intentionally going out to think about like macroeconomics and the global economy and like other currencies, like because the US dollar has always been the strongest. You can go to other countries with a US dollar and they'll accept it
Right.
in most places. But if you brought like the Argentina dollar or the Turkey dollar or other dollars from even from like Canada, people aren't going to accept that here, which is
Yeah.
crazy, right? Like I've traveled around the world and been privileged to do that just like you have. You got to convert it back into the United States dollar because that's the dollar that you want to use. And like I remember I'd go to like other places in the world and like I'd go with a couple thousand cash and then you'd get like $100,000 in the other
Oh
currency
yeah.
and
Mhm.
you're like, I'm rich, and you're like, I should move here, I'll be a billionaire. Only because the way that the dollar has been devalued there, $1 billion goes so much farther, right? And so I just feel like your point of converting your dollars into commodities or into assets that are going to go up where the dollar is going to go down is what most people don't think about, because how do you balance holding cash during a recession
Mm.
versus making the investment? Because
Yeah. Good question.
that's the hardest part, I think, for me and for a lot of people out there. Let's say you have the awareness, you have this recognition that the government is devaluing the dollar faster than they ever have in history.
Yeah.
Um, Inflation, war, pandemic, all this interest hike, all this crazy shit is happening at the same time. The longest bull run ever with the little spike and then a huge bounce back bull run. Like, what is happening in the world right now? If you have that awareness and recognition, you still have to make this tough decision right now, which is you can never time the bottom. You don't want to catch a falling knife, all the little one off sayings that we've all heard before. But like, man, that's where I'm having a trouble right now. And you and I are both blessed to be multi-millionaires at a young age and be able to, I believe, probably 5 or 10x our net worth over the next 5 years. Like astronaut, like it's taken us. I'm 32, and I know you're right around the exact same age. I
Yeah.
think you're
31.
yeah, you're younger. Like it's taken us 30 years to build our net worth to multiple millions of dollars. We could 5 or 10x that over the next 5 years, which is like insane, bro. We could have $100 million net worths in 5 years. And I don't share that to brag. I share that to make the point that it's even hard for us to make these decisions right now, which is like, Like I put $100,000. I got my Bitcoin clock right here, right about 20 grand. Um, I'm in it, bro. I can't even not have my clock all the time. So I'm like aware of when do I buy the dip. Um, like I put 100 grand in when it dropped from like whatever 28,000 to like 19.
Yeah,
I put 100 grand and I bought like 5 more Bitcoin, and and then it dropped to 17,000, and I was like,
yeah.
ugh. I was like, and I
It
think there's a
hurts. It
and I
hurts
think
no
that I
matter what.
and I think there's a chance it goes lower. So my point
Yeah,
is, how do you balance
yeah.
holding the cash, which is a melting ice cube? It's losing 10-20% of its purchasing power
Yep,
annually currently,
yep.
versus investing in something that might go down but long term could go up. So like how do you
Okay.
navigate that? Because it's that risk about my ice cube is melting. Do I convert it into real estate, opportunity zone, energy deals? Do I put it into gold, silver? Do I buy my neighbor's house across the street that's for sale right now just to
Yeah.
like make it my office? Like, where am I putting my cash that's losing its value? Or do I hold it a little bit longer? Because some people are saying the market's gonna drop further come November, at the midterms. So like, what are you doing, bro? And then I'll kind of share my sentiment as well.
So I'll share two answers. One of where I was 2.5 years ago, that'll speak to where I was 2.5 years ago, having no business, having just quit my job and starting a company in the middle of a recession, and then where I'm at now in a very different financial position. So I think that could speak to two different people. So when it first hit with COVID, right when I started my business 2.5 years ago, everyone went into panic. Some people just decided to chill and just hunker down and watch Netflix for a year while the world corrected itself. When that happened, from a mindset perspective, I said, okay, the world is getting harder. So I have to get harder at an exponential rate. The world is taking time off and kind of going to fetal position. I have to double down on my habits, my mindset, my self mastery, and get so fucking dialed in that I become a warrior. Like these times either turn you into a champion or they wreck you. And you get to
Right.
decide that. That's a mindset. So I was working 100-hour weeks that entire year of COVID, from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. every day,
And
maybe six and a half days a week.
it's paid off because you freaking slayed over the last couple of years.
Right. And I
I'm so proud of you
skyrocketed.
for that. Yeah.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it was a launching year for me. So I looked at it as a huge opportunity where I'm like, most people are afraid. This is the time where you got to rise up, you got to double down, and you got to go harder than ever. And look at that as an opportunity. It really is. Some of the biggest companies in the world, from Stripe to Square to you name it, were built during recessions, and it really reveals your character. Like,
And what does that mean for you though? I want to, because we're kind of like interviewing each
yeah.
other. So
So
like,
I
does that
I
mean
had
like hitting the gym? I know you've always been like in
yeah
shape. So like hitting the gym, reading more books. Are you buying courses or hiring mentors?
yeah
Like, what does that mean? Double down, work harder. Because like Dwayne Johnson will say that, but he doesn't contextualize it with like,
right. That's a good question.
here's what I'm actually doing during
Yeah.
those 100-hour weeks, outside of like working on your business or working in your business.
So this is what I did every day. 5 to 6 a.m. was just me time. So I got up, I meditated, I visualized where I wanted to be, I emotionalized the future. So I wasn't being affected by the vibrations of what was happening in the current moment. I was
Mm.
thinking myself into a future and
Like,
feeling the
this is
emotion.
my house, this is my
Like, yeah,
wife,
just
this is
seeing
my
my
car.
successful business,
Feel
money
it.
flowing to me. I was emotionalizing that future so I could try to live that in the present, right?
Mm.
I was writing my goals down. I was brainwashing myself, and I was also just I used a book
Yeah.
called The 12-Week Year to organize my life. I got super organized on my systems, and I focused on building the business, nonstop. I said, how do I acquire clients, deliver?
I got my goal sheet right here. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm not going to share my goals. But like, I got this dope house on here
Yep.
on this piece of paper, and then I got like my goals written down above it up here.
It's so
It's
key.
under my keyboard, as you say, key, and I pull it out, and every day I look at it. So I'm like, that's my next house. One of multiple that I'll have like that around the world.
Exactly.
Here's my this year goals, and here's my 10-year goals. So I love that you're saying that. I wanted to just show people like,
Yeah,
I
that's
have it on a
beautiful.
one sheet piece of paper under my keyboard where I know I'm going to see it every single day.
And that's the key, is like I was living into a future, right? I was creating a
Right.
future so that was pulling me forward versus getting trapped in the past or in the current moment, right? So got dialed in and I was just building the business. And if you don't have a business, it's really about increasing your earning potential. So for me, I had no choice. I was going to go broke if I didn't succeed. So that lit a fire under my ass. So for me, that was just acquiring clients. I just started. I was a solopreneur at the time. And that was the key for me, is just increasing my income, right? You
So
can do that
you
as an
found a
employee.
problem. You found a problem in the marketplace.
Yeah.
You got the skills. the mindset, and you just slayed. You just put in the hours. We all have 24 hours. And you just put in that work to go and get out there and help businesses solve a big problem, which is no
Yeah.
different than most people, if not everybody watching this, especially if you live in America where we have so much opportunity. Anybody can do their version of that, whether it's learning e-commerce or affiliate marketing or how to make money on the internet. I love that you're sharing that though, because I don't want people making excuses. I know you and I are both big on personal development and accountability and responsibility. And it's like,
Yeah.
you did the work, bro. You started from the ground up. And you just found a big problem to solve, and you just got really good at putting in the work to make sure that you dominated, and you did
And
it.
I think a big key here too is that it goes back to mindset. It can be your biggest opportunity or your biggest curse. So for me, when I started, I had some relationships in the industry in the tech world.
Yeah.
I have an executive search firm. All my business dried up. All the relationships I had in San Diego at the time, they dried up. Everyone went to paralysis. No one was hiring. It was the worst time to start a recruiting company. But then it forced me to go look, okay, where's all the money coming from? Silicon Valley, venture capital firms. So it forced me, I bought a $6,000 marketing course, learned copywriting, and started building LinkedIn campaigns. New skill set, had no relationships.
Nice.
It forced me to level up and go to the heart of where the money was. And I had to figure out, how do I get involved at the height of the game? So it forced me out of my small sandbox in San Diego and helped me connect. You know, it took a long time, 17 campaigns before I landed my first client.
Wow.
But when I got it, it opened up a whole new world of the biggest and hottest tech companies in the world that propelled us into being a pretty iconic brand really quickly. So it was the biggest blessing in hindsight.
Right. And that
Yeah.
got you, and let's get back to the ultimate narrative here, which is like, so now you've made millions of dollars, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of like for people watching, like, and maybe we'll do more of these videos. If you guys like this, be sure to comment below, let us know. We're just two friends who wanted to riff here and hopefully share some powerful things that we're doing to navigate right now. But so like back to the thing, right? You got this cash now, but like, how do you, right? Like, dollar cost average, DCA, baby, right? It's like dollar cost average. Buy a little bit here, it drops. Buy a little bit here, it drops.
Yeah.
Buy a little bit here, and yeah, it hurts to see it dropping. But like, if you believe in the thing and you think it's going to go up, or it's better to get your cash into this, but you also don't want to be like, if I don't have cash flow, I don't want to go through all my cash and find out like it keeps going. I did the dollar cost average, and now I'm out. I'm out of ammunition, dry powder, as they call it, right? So like,
Exactly.
what are you doing, bro?
So right now what I'm doing, and this is different, right? If you only have a little bit of money, I would say just invest back in yourself, increase your earning potential.
So yeah, you've only got a couple $1,000.
Yeah, you got to
invest
earn
in
more
education.
money. Like, don't worry about investing in assets and all that stuff until you're making at least hundreds of thousands of dollars and have good earning potential, right? Now that I have millions, and just in the last week, I lost $1 million in crypto, and I also reinvested another $1 million in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So,
bro, I'm right there with you. People are like, I was just at a wedding, and like tangent real fast, but on that, it was like, I was just at a wedding, and of course people love to rub it in your face. They're like, how's your crypto doing now? And I was like, yeah, I'm down 7 figures. Well, I'm actually not, because I bought a lot of Bitcoin at 9,000. So I'm actually up, but like my portfolio's down 7 figures. I'm not down 7 figures, but my portfolio's down 7 figures. And you're not really ever down unless you sell. And I know there's the whole tax wash thing. So I theoretically could sell, but I'm up with my Bitcoin and down with my portfolio. So it's just this whole thing. I'm just going to hold, like I said. But yeah, I feel you, bro. It's like, I've been putting ridiculous amounts of money in right now. I'm about to have a big lump sum of cash come in, and I'm going to uncomfortably put most of it into specific things we can talk about. For me,
yeah, I think that's,
Bitcoin.
I want to get into your portfolio and how you break it down. But the simplest way I see it is, I only invest in things I have a very high conviction and strong thesis around. So Bitcoin, I'm all in on. I know long term that it's going to be $1 million a coin at some point in time. That time horizon, I'm not sure. So yeah, short term, I invested $1 million at 25 and saw to see it drop like a day later. It was not
right. You're like, oh man, that sucks. I could have bought a Ferrari with that Delta point. Of
yeah,
what,
that
of what I
Delta could
lost.
have brought a Ferrari easily, but I'm like, all right, that sucks. But like, you got to be okay with that and be okay. You're not going to time the bottom. You just got to think about long-term time horizons. I invest in private tech companies. So that's another, more high risk, high reward. And then I'm going to start shifting into more real estate, but I'm going to just start stacking cash for a while now. I want to have a good safety net, and I want to see if the market really implodes. And then I want to,
that's the risk factor.
That's the risk factor.
Is the hurdle rate right now, right, of the dollar being devalued at the same cost of capital. It's tough, bro. Like, part of me wants to be able to go and do like a micro strategy, Michael Saylor move, and be like, here's what I've got.
Yeah.
Let me take out a loan against this and go in with massive leverage. But part of me feels like one of the reasons the market's crashing so hard is because too many people were leveraged. So, by the
Yeah.
way, sentiment there, I have zero leverage in the market. I don't have I only place I have leverage would probably be real estate, where I have like debt,
You're leveraging debt though.
where I'm leveraging
Right.
positive debt. But
Right.
I have enough collateral that you get. I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, I don't do any debt or leverage or loans for cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or any of that. Not at all. But I think about it every single day. I got to be honest.
Yeah, you
But
can 10x your net worth, but it's a fast way to
oh
just
man,
bankrupt yourself too.
yeah. So like for
So
me,
what are you doing for your strategy? Like, how are you thinking about it? Are you sitting on cash right now? Are you investing? Is it a mix? Like, what are you? How are you thinking through it?
I've invested a lot of cash over the last 6 months, and as it kept going down, I've obviously been losing. But I keep future pacing out 10 years and saying, am I confident with absolute conviction that the majority of the things I've invested in will be much higher than they are now? Where I'll look back, and even though I theoretically am down every time I buy in with the dollar cost average as it keeps dropping,
Yeah.
um, even though I'm down, am I going to be way up and actually wish this is the thing I play in my head is in 10 years when Bitcoin's half a million or $1 million, not financial advice, my own personal hopes, prayers, and vision for where I believe it could be mathematically. I believe it'll be at 500,000 to $1 million by 2030. Um, and if I believe that with absolute conviction, as I do, not financial advice, don't invest because I'm saying this, but I believe that based on probably 500 hours I've put into studying Bitcoin alone.
Yep.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. So today, when I buy it at 30 and it drops to 20, I just tell myself, how am I going to feel in the future? And right now, I feel uncomfortable. Like, oh, I just lost. I should have waited. Um, I say, what am I going to say in the future? What's my future self going to say to me today?
Great
When
way of
when
looking at
when right now today I go, damn it, I bought a lot at 30 and it went to 20. I say, what is my future self going to call me up in 2030 and say, you should have bought more?
You should have bought more and just
And
kick
so
yourself.
so when I'm uncomfortable and I feel like, oh man, I'm so stupid. I should have waited. That's why you dollar cost average. I pretend my future self calls me up and says, you should have bought more
Should have
at,
bought more.
at 30, even though it dropped to 20, even though it dropped to 10.
100%, man. That's the only way you
That
don't get
kind of
overly
helps me.
emotional.
But
That's
again, I
huge.
know we're talking a lot about Bitcoin, and that's because I really do believe in the technology. And if people are watching this and they don't believe in it or don't understand it, it's usually because you haven't put at least 100 hours into studying it. The white paper, listening to Michael Saylor, go and listen to Peter Schiff, the gold guy who hates Bitcoin. Um, Listen to all of it, but I guarantee, from my personal experience, I've studied a lot of different things: energy, real estate, commercial real estate, mobile homes, opportunity zones, weird stuff like wind power, solar power, water power. Bro, I'm invested in a lot of things. I have millions of dollars invested into different things because I'm a diversified. Almost everything I just said, I'm invested in, by the way. And I don't put my money in things and not have my legal counsel, my attorneys, my
Right.
mentors look at things and give me their advice before I invest. And I still have the most of my portfolio in Bitcoin. And I still believe the most in Bitcoin that it'll outperform all those other things. And part of me is going to be like, wow, you're so stupid for investing in anything but it. But my wife and I have a baby, and
Yep,
I
yep.
got to make sure that, unlike you, where you're just like rocking and rolling by yourself, you can take more of those risks. I have to think about like my wife and my baby, and like I
Yeah.
can't just be like 100% in on Bitcoin, just possibly for the worst case scenario that it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm all in for the most part on Bitcoin, and that's where most of my stuff is going to, because the average person can't even invest in real estate or energy,
Right.
or real
Exactly.
estate or mobile homes or commercial real estate or apartments or a duplex. Um, so it's like not even worth talking about for the average person watching this on social media, because they don't have the ability to do that, the
Yeah.
knowledge, the financial capital. So the cool thing about Bitcoin is you can invest $1, you can invest $100, you can invest however much money you have. I've
Yeah.
been like forcing it on my family and friends because I'm like, I don't want to leave you guys behind. Um,
Yeah.
like on the Bitcoin train metaphorically that like when it
Yeah.
hits 100 grand, if you're not buying it at 20, you're not buying it at 100.
Yeah,
And if you're not
exactly.
buying it at 20, you're not buying it at 200,000. Like only the institutions and the billionaires will be like, now I'll buy it at 500,000 and boost it to a million, 100. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah, they
like,
want the 2x returns. But
but
that's a great point. I think regardless of what you want to invest in, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's stocks or real estate, I think a simple mindset frame that I look through because it is emotionally volatile is
yeah,
it's always better to buy at any point in a bear market than in a bull market, right? All these dips on the way up and it was like 40, then 30, then
right,
50, then 38, then 67. Anyway on the way up, those dips are not
right,
dips because you're in a bull run, right? In a
right.
bear market, whether you are at 10K or you're at
It's
20K,
hard to lose in a bear market.
it's hard to lose in a bear market. So I think about that too. I'm like, man, if I really wait and it collapses to 10, I could buy twice as much Bitcoin. Do I really want to miss out on that? But the
Right.
problem is, I think
It
something
may
like
not
80,
go
it
there.
may not go there. And 80% of the returns in the market happen in, I think, 5 to 7 days of the
And right
year.
now with Bitcoin, I know we sound like Bitcoin maxis right now, but like that's like
Yeah.
one of my passions. When I'm with family, they're always like, my wife's like, don't talk about Bitcoin because it's like she knows I'm gonna go ham on it because
Yeah.
I spend so much time on it and we have so much money in it. So like when we have $100 million in Bitcoin, right? People are gonna be like, oh man, now I see why you were so obsessed 10 years
Yeah.
ago. But it's like
Exactly.
I digress. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you got to invest when people are scared and fearful, and not when people are like, when everybody's saying Bitcoin's a scam or crypto's a scam, you got to get out. It's on the news. It's crashing. Michael Saylor's going to get liquidated. Oh, you heard about Luna and you heard about Celsius and all these things
Yeah,
are going to crash.
absolutely. Uh-huh.
That's the time to get in. Like my brother knew about Bitcoin in 2013, and I remember him talking about it, and me just like writing it off, like, oh yeah, my brother's just like like a nerd like that, like he's like all computers and like whiz and like genius, da, 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 da. And like, oh, that's never going to be anything.
Yeah.
And he knew about Apple, and like 21 years ago, like my brother was like a teenager and he was like, oh, Apple's going to be the biggest company in the world. Just watch. 21 years ago, and my parents bought him like one share of Apple and a plaque and like put it on the wall. Um, and it was like $8 a share,
Yeah.
or something like ridiculous. And so he knew about the company and he knew about Bitcoin, and like people just write it off because you're like, that's never going to be anything. And that's when you need to get in. And so for anybody right now, we're way past that with Bitcoin. There's the clock, it's updating the price. Where are we at? But I have to have it flash green so I know. Um, but yeah, like you got to invest when people are scared. When they say when there's blood in the streets. Like
Yeah.
Warren Buffett's got a lot of great quotes, except for when he talks crap on Bitcoin. But he has a lot of great quotes, like invest when everyone is fearful,
Yeah.
and it's something like
When
whenever
everyone's fearful, when
whenever
everyone is fearful, then you want to be greedy. When everyone's greedy, be fearful.
That's it, exactly. It's like the reverse of each other.
The inverse. Yeah.
You nailed it. And so right now everyone's fearful, so it's time to be greedy. The problem is how much more fearful can we get? Can we keep
Yeah.
dropping and
Oh
people get
yeah. It could get way worse.
even more
You
scared?
need self-awareness too, though, because I think like don't go investing everything to where you're putting yourself in a financial constraint. Like for me,
Right.
I optimize heavily for security in life. I don't want to invest all my
Same,
money and
same.
be on the street again. I've gotten accustomed to a certain lifestyle I don't want to jeopardize.
Right,
So
right.
I have my blanket, my cushion, and I reinvest heavily back into my business. We're going in an aggressive growth mode right now because
Yep.
that for me is the best asset, the best cash flow engine, and the best
Right.
way to make sure that we're continuing to grow regardless of the market, even if we lose more money.
Yep.
But then I have enough set aside, a good majority. I don't have a car. I don't buy useless shit. I'm conservative because I want to take advantage of times like this and invest in
Yep.
assets. But I make sure to have that cushion there because you don't want to live in panic and scarcity. So
Right.
it's something I thought to point out to wrap things
That's a
up
great
here.
one. And that's what I have too, is I have about probably a year and a half of um cash, gold, silver, other things of the sorts that are very, very liquid and quote unquote hard. Um, like cash and gold and silver aren't going to just drop to zero overnight or
Yeah.
even in a year. So cash, gold, silver, and some other things that, of course, guns and bullets and whatnot. But like I've got, about 18 months of our lifestyle, like
Right.
of our nice, comfortable Orange County, California lifestyle. Um, Not even like, let me bring that down, let me stretch that out, let's have ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. Like our
Right.
our our lifestyle of 18 months plus cash flow coming in, plus investments. So I agree 100%. If you're able to do that, I think the same way, right? I think of that like security, and especially with a wife and a baby.
Yeah.
But to recap and simplify for everybody who's watching right now, who's not maybe yet at this level, because we know, I mean, we're in the less than the 1%, which I'm so grateful for. And it's from education, by the way. So if you guys want to get, like we talked about, if you want to earn more and you want to get your life at the level that you dream about, and watch in the movies and the music videos, education's where it starts. So like to recap together, let me know if I missed something, right? It's like, you got to get your education in your house in order, like you called it. Go to the gym, eat healthy. This is the time to not be skimping and be like, oh, I'm going to save all my money to invest on buy the dip, and I'm going to eat at McDonald's. No, that'll alter your biochemistry and make you fat and make you lazy and demotivate you. So like this is the time, if anything, to invest more. I'm buying more supplements, more greens, more health and wellness, more fitness coaching. Like this is the time to be like, I used to go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm going like 5 times a week. Used to walk like, mile a day. Now it's like getting in my 10,000 steps. And it's like, this is doubling down on your health and your wellness, doubling down on your education. Even though I run 2 multi-million-dollar companies, I spend half my time studying. That's not even half my time in my companies or on my companies, half my time studying and working out and being healthy and spending a ton of time with my, our 7-month-old baby girl. And so what else? I know we talked about a lot. I want to kind of bounce back and forth. Like, so
Yeah, get your house in order. That's you hit the main points there. Get your house in order. Make sure you got your education right. You're not just like haphazardly taking information from 15 different gurus and panicking.
be
Like,
proactive. Don't be
no,
reactive. That's another one. Like,
absolutely.
don't react to the news and react to the headlines. Be proactive. Try to figure out where's the puck heading, so I can be there waiting before the news and the media outlets are all telling us
That's
about
it,
it.
man. The biggest thing you can take away from this is don't be afraid. Don't buy into the fear. Because when your amygdala gets triggered and you're living in fear, you're no longer, your executive center turns off. You're no longer making good decisions. You're not going to
Yeah.
produce anything good in life. Like calm down, be Tom Brady in the pocket and be clear
Yeah.
and say, what are my moves here? Like life is
Right.
just a puzzle, right? So figure it out, be objective about it, and don't worry so much because that doesn't actually help anyway.
Yeah.
And then I think invest in yourself, man. The last pandemic hit, I invested in marketing. I invested in learning new skill sets that I needed to increase my earning potential. Like,
And
don't
you
go
did
into
it.
this mindset. And I did
Yeah.
it, right? But I think take this opportunity and take the pressure and become a diamond from it, right? So, like, learn
Yeah.
new skill sets, study a shit ton, read personal development books, get your mind bulletproof and acquire new skills that make you valuable, and decide, like, build that identity up, man. Like, hey, the world is this way. The world's getting
Yeah.
harder. I'm going to get harder than the world.
And listen to
Right?
both sides of the argument. Like I was saying
Yeah.
earlier, don't just listen to people saying the market's going up or down. Listen to
Yeah.
both. Listen to the bulls and the bears and the
Yeah.
experts on both. The best argument on both sides of the table. You don't want to just sit down with somebody who's super smart and articulate, because if you're not super smart and articulate, you're going to be like, wow, this person must be right. They're
Yeah.
rich, they're articulate, they're
I've made that mistake.
successful. Me too. That's why we're both here to share this with people. It's like, make
Yeah.
sure you find the equally smart and articulate and successful opposite person, so you can hear both sides of the argument, and then you can make your decisions rather than just trying to follow somebody, because you never know when you're following somebody who's maybe like a pump and dump, like buy this thing and it goes up and then they sell because they know they have influence. Like Elon Musk, for example, buy Dogecoin and it pumps up, and now he's being sued for $250 billion for that.
Wow.
So, there's a
Yeah.
lot of different things that we've talked about here today. Ultimately, dollar cost averaging is a really safe way to protect yourself, buying in on the downs or buying in on tranches on the way up or down, so that you're not just going all in, baby, because I heard I should.
Yeah.
Also, make sure you have cash reserves. Ideally, the biggest thing is if you don't have a lot of cash to invest, you have a lot less options. I like to look at money as decision units. If my wife and I want the decision to go fly private, we have enough decision units we can allocate to that decision, and it's not going to hurt our future decisions. Like now I can't make the decision to buy dinner tonight because I used all my decision units on a private jet. So money is decision units. If you want to make,
Yeah, it's a great
if
way.
you want to have an unlimited amount of decisions to make for your family, for your church, your community, for your friends, your loved ones, then you need to be able to earn more money. And you do that with knowledge. The old cliche, learn before you earn. So like we said, read the books. It's a really good thing to do. That's affordable without, like you said, you paid $6,000 for a course. Not everybody has that. You and me didn't have that when we started. So books is the easiest way, following smart people on YouTube, but not making rash decisions just because those persons maybe are shilling a coin or shilling an investment or got a sponsor to pay them to shout, hey, I'm endorsing this thing because a sponsor paid me. And then ultimately, like once you get your earning potential up, play the long game, have a long outlook on life, on investing, and like, you know, I don't agree with everything Gary Vaynerchuk says, but I think Gary Vaynerchuk has a lot of smart things he does say. And one of them is like, you're so young if you're 30 or 40. So if you're watching this and you're a teenager or you're in your 20s, oh man, I wish I could be in my 20s and know what I know now.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to never be the guy who said, I wish I knew now what I knew then, because then I'd be, but you can never avoid that. Like, that's why I read so much, because I want to be like, when I'm 40, oh my God, I want to have that knowledge now at 30. And it's like, just keep learning, keep getting great mentors. If you
Yeah.
don't have a lot of cash, don't watch this video and be like, well, these guys have millions and I shouldn't listen to anything. No, we're telling you, get your earning potential up. Get yourself into that comfortable position where you have maybe a year or two of reserves, so you're safe, and then you can go out and you can live the life that you want to live. And we're in crazy times, unprecedented times. This is where wealth's going to be transferred. This is where people are going to try to take your money from you so that you don't have a job or a house or anything, so that the government can get your vote. Because if they can put you in a position where you have very little or nothing, you're going to give your vote to the person who says, I'll give you everything for free that you don't have, because the world's unfair and tough. Let's tax more of the rich so we can give that money to you because you're struggling. That's not the best perception. You want to be the rich person that they're trying to tax, because there's always loopholes to avoid paying tax. Legally and ethically, the government creates those tax loopholes so that the politicians and billionaires can avoid their tax. And
Yeah, dude, you're
um,
saying all the right stuff. It's really, to your point, I think the best thing you can do right now is realize money is important, financial stability is important, and educate yourself. Like, you got a
yeah,
lot of people have an aversion to really understanding wealth building, but it's the only way to really secure yourself and to have freedom and autonomy and sovereignty in this world where so many
yeah,
people are trying to take that from you. So take
yeah.
your time to educate yourself, understand what assets are, look up what's going on in the macroeconomy, follow people like Robert Kiyosaki and Ray Dalio, and
Right.
research this
But
and
not
make
only them, because they could be
not
wrong
only them,
sometimes. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Yeah, yeah,
research a lot of people,
yeah,
do your own research, but that wealth of knowledge is going to give you such confidence in being able to navigate the world because now you're not in
yeah,
the blind. And so I think
yeah.
that's the best thing people can do.
Yeah, go on Amazon, type in investment books, find the ones that have 5,000 reviews that are positive, and buy that book for $19. And then it'll recommend other famous investment books. Buy those books. And you'd be shocked how instead of spending $400 to look cool and buy that new t shirt or jacket or pair of shoes, so you impress people that you really don't care about and they don't really care about you. And by the way, I've been there. That's why I can say it.
Yeah, totally.
Rather than trying to, and I love nice things, by the way, so I have nice things, but I have nice things for me now instead of for others. And so, you know, instead of spending $500 at the club or at dinner or trying to be stupid and ball out when you shouldn't, spend $500 on Amazon. Oh my God, you'll get like 100 books or 50 books. And if you actually read those books and then actually apply what's in those books, that's how you can be a multimillionaire, or whatever your life or goal looks like. And then you can be in a position like Chris and I, where we get the privilege and opportunity to not only be living that life, but to be able to share some little sprinkles of knowledge. So as we come to a wrap, you know, for people watching, we hope you guys got value from this. We hope you, through our friendly rants and hot potato back and forth here, you were able to pull out one or two things that are valuable for you, either from a mindset perspective, because sometimes you don't necessarily walk away with something to apply, but you walk away with a new way to think. And honestly, I gotta be straight with you. Sometimes just changing how you think then changes how you feel and therefore how you behave. And so you didn't necessarily get a tangible thing to apply, like here's the book to go read or here's where to invest because I think it's going to go up. But rather you change the way that you think, and that can then change your life. For me, the biggest reason why my life changed is because I first started to change how I think from books like Tony Robbins and Jay Abraham and Deepak
Yep.
Chopra and a bunch of other amazing mentors. But we hope that you got something of value from this. Again, if you did, please hit the like button. Subscribe to our channels if you're watching this. Comment below. Let us know that you enjoyed this, because Chris and I, we just were like, it'd be fun to just rant on YouTube for a little bit and see if we can get some value for some people. And right now, the most relevant thing, I believe, is the fact that we could slip into an area where a lot of people could lose their decision abilities because they
Yep.
lose their money, they lose their 401k, they lose their cash purchasing power, etc. And so we thought the most relevant thing to add value to you guys right now would be to talk about what's happening in the macro global economy in the United States, as well where we live, and how to prepare, how to prepare mentally, physically, emotionally, even spiritually, and especially financially, so that you can be on the receiving end of the wealth transfer. You've probably heard there's a wealth transfer happening. Most billionaires, most millionaires, and most of the most successful companies all started in recessions or capitalized and took advantage of the recession or the downturn in the economy, because that's when everything is on sale. That's when real estate's cheaper. You can a lot of times hire talent for cheaper. You can buy goods for cheaper. You can invest in great commodities and assets for cheaper. And so this is the opportunity. This is what it's all about. This is the time for you to take advantage of what's happening and to become the best version of yourself and to become super rich. And hopefully you got some ways to do that from listening to Chris and I. So we'll be doing more videos like this, and we can talk about all things personal development and business and success. But if you guys got value from this, make sure that you guys comment below. And Chris, final words, brother.
No, I think this is a great conversation, man. I think we got to do a few more of these just to go
Yeah,
deeper in some of these
for
subjects. But
sure.
hopefully, you guys got some value from that, just on how to think, some real contextual things to potentially do as well. Feel free to reach out on Instagram too. We'll drop our
Yeah,
handles in the chat. YouTube, if there's anything we can do, give us some comments on what other videos you want to see. Again, we're just trying to provide as much value as we can, because we've both been broke and we've both been through some hard times. We've done a lot of work on ourselves and invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in mentors, and have done fairly well in the recent years. So whatever we can do to help you guys get mentally stronger and be in a better financial and life position to just to live the life you want to live, we're here for it.
love it. And final note would be, there's nothing. I would say we're both special guys and whatever, but like there's nothing like necessarily like genetically special about us. Like neither one of us like grew up in super privileged positions. Um, you know, we're 10 years of super hard work, personal development, investing in ourselves, eating right, exercising, investing in our knowledge, investing in mentors, investing and putting in that work. So just for people watching, I know I used to watch people and be like, "Oh, that's because," and you make these excuses about why that person is the way they are and how they're
Yeah.
successful. I'm telling you, there's nothing necessarily about us when we started that was special. Obviously, now we've crafted and honed in who we've become. But I'll end with that, just so you guys know, like you can do it. Whoever's watching this, you've got what it takes. Don't look at where we are now and be like, "Oh man, there's no way I could ever right become that version of
Yeah,
me or
that's a
become
good point, man.
successful."
Anyone can do this. Anyone can be
Right.
successful. You just got to make the choice
Yeah.
and
In
just
today's world, bro, like if you're watching this on YouTube, you have access to the internet. You have access to all unlimited information if honed in on the right information and applied, and in a bright future and vision for who you can be, what you can achieve, and the life that you can create. There's nothing that you can't do. I believe, even though we live in probably the craziest times in history, one of the craziest times, we're heading into it. We also live in one of the most opportunistic and exciting times. So we'll leave you guys with that. God bless. Love everybody who's watching this. Make sure you comment below. Let us know what you took away from this. And if you want to see more videos from us, even if you don't, we'll probably still make a couple because we don't care. But appreciate you, brother, for jumping on here and for riffing.
yeah, thanks for making this happen.